In the world of high-stakes medicine, a team's performance can literally be the difference between life and death. So the real question is, how do you build a team that's truly elite? Well, today we're going to unlock some powerful lessons from some pretty unexpected places: the military, top-tier sports, and business that can absolutely transform how we deliver patient care.
So, really, what on earth can a special forces unit or a world champion rugby team teach us about taking care of patients? It might sound strange, but the answer is pretty much everything. The principles that make teams successful under the most extreme pressure are the very same principles that can help healthcare teams navigate the complex challenges they face, every single day. Let's be honest, modern medicine is not simple. It's not a straight line. Caring for just one complex patient can involve dozens of specialists, nurses, and providers. And the old models of teamwork, they're really starting to crack under all that pressure. We desperately need a new way of thinking.
To help us figure this out, we're going to draw on some incredible source material. We've got lessons on adaptability from General Stanley McChrystal, some amazing insights on culture from James Kerr's book on the All Blacks rugby team, and a foundational model on what makes teams tick from Patrick Lencioni. These ideas have been a huge part of the conversation within the Culture Coalition, and today we're pulling them all together for you.
Okay, let's dive right in by first diagnosing the real problem. Why is it that teams of brilliant, dedicated, well-meaning healthcare professionals sometimes just fail to deliver the best possible outcome? Well, the answer often comes down to one word: disconnection.
General McChrystal has a great name for this. He calls it a command of teams. And I want you to think about this in a hospital. You've got an elite surgical team over here, an elite ICU team over there, and a world-class pharmacy team down the hall. Each one is amazing at what they do, but they often work in their own little worlds, their own silos, reporting up their chain of command, but not really communicating fluidly with each other.
And that right there is the crucial point. You can have the best experts in the world, the A team in every department, but if they aren't all on the same page, playing the same game, the mission is going to suffer. And in our world in healthcare, that mission is always, always the patient. These silos create blind spots and delays that can have really serious consequences. So Patrick Lencioni gives us this fantastic framework for understanding the human side of this breakdown. His model is like a pyramid, and the foundation, that bottom layer, is everything. See, it all starts with an absence of trust, and if you don't have that, the whole thing just crumbles. Teams start to fear healthy conflict, then they can't get real commitment, they start to avoid accountability, and ultimately, the results, our patient outcomes, are what suffer. So, if the root of the problem is a lack of trust, well, the solution has to start right there. And that brings us to the absolute bedrock of any elite team: building genuine psychological safety. You see, when Lencioni talks about trust, he's not just talking about believing in someone's skills. He's talking about a feeling of safety. It's that ability for anyone on the team, no matter their title or role, to raise their hand and say, "Hey, I think I made a mistake," or "I'm not sure about this," or even "I have a crazy idea," without any fear that they're going to be blamed or shamed. And this brings up a really crucial distinction we have to make. In healthcare, we are experts at competence-based trust. Of course, we trust the surgeon to operate. We trust the pharmacist to get the dose right. But psychological safety, that's a whole different level. It's trusting your colleagues enough to be vulnerable, to ask for help, or to respectfully challenge the plan. That is where real breakthroughs happen. And here's the magic. Once you build that foundation of safety, the team can finally connect to its shared purpose, its why. James Kerr wrote in Legacy that the All Blacks had to find a why that went way beyond just winning rugby games. For every single healthcare team, that why is the patient. It's a purpose that should unify everyone, from the top surgeon all the way to the newest nurse and the support staff. All right, so with that foundation of trust and purpose in place, we can now start to tackle the big structural problem: those silos. The goal here is to move from a bunch of disconnected teams to a state of what General McChrystal calls shared consciousness. Shared consciousness. What does that actually mean? It means everyone on the team has a holistic, big-picture view of what's going on. The ICU nurse doesn't just know the patient's vitals right now, they also understand the surgical plan, the pharmacy's concerns, and the family's goals. This is what allows for smart, adaptive decisions to be made right there on the front lines, without having to wait for orders from up top.
So the big question is, how do you build this? Well, the answer is through extreme transparency.
It means getting rid of those siloed meetings and instead having daily all-hands huddles where everyone is present. It means shifting your entire culture from need to know to need to share, where the whole care team has access to the same real-time information and the same game plan.
Now, a new structure is great, but it won't last without a new culture to support it. And for this, we're going to turn to one of the most dominant teams in sports history, the New Zealand All Blacks. Their entire culture is built on one simple but incredibly profound idea. The team comes first, always. Their guiding principle is something they call character over talent. The All Blacks figured out a long time ago that a team full of superstars who only play for themselves will almost always lose to a team of good players who play for each other. In a hospital, this means we have to prioritize collaboration and humility over individual ego, no matter how brilliant or skilled a person is. In his book Legacy, James Kerr talks about this incredibly powerful team rule. They had a strict zero-tolerance policy for anyone, I don't care how talented they were, who put their own ego ahead of the team. Any kind of selfish, self-absorbed behavior that undermined the collective mission, it just wasn't tolerated, period. Everyone had to be focused on the team and focused on the mission.
And this powerful culture is reinforced through rituals. Think about the All Blacks' famous haka dance. That isn't just for show, it's a ritual that connects every player to their shared identity and their core values. Now, in a hospital, our rituals might look a little different, but things like daily team huddles or case debriefs or quality reviews, they can serve the exact same purpose. They turn abstract values into concrete, shared experiences. Okay, let's bring this all home, because at the end of the day, none of this happens without a profound shift in leadership. Building a true team of teams requires leaders to think about their role in a completely new way. General McChrystal gives us this amazing metaphor. The traditional leader is like a chess master, trying to control every single piece on the board. But in a complex, unpredictable environment like healthcare, that's just impossible. The new model is the gardener, a leader who doesn't try to control everything, but instead cultivates the environment. They nurture the ecosystem so that the team itself can grow and flourish. So what does a gardener leader actually do? Well, they're constantly communicating. They're out there listening to the problems and concerns of their frontline teams. They lead by example, modeling the vulnerability and transparency they expect from everyone else. And maybe, most importantly, they convey one core belief. We can solve these complex problems, but we can only solve them together. So for every physician, nurse, and provider leader out there, this is the crucial takeaway. Your primary job is not to have all the answers. It's to create the conditions, the trust, the shared consciousness, the culture that enable your team to find the answers. Your job isn't to command, it's to cultivate. And that brings us to our final question, the one I want to leave you with. We all agree the patient is the mission, but I want you to look at your daily reality, your team's culture, and your own leadership style, and ask yourself, honestly, are we truly structured to win for them?